Blitzers, Nerf Clan, welcome back to the channel. We are comparing today an epic feud, the AMX 50B French Tier 10 heavy autoloader versus the T57 heavy. Two of the best tanks in the game, certainly the best autoloaders in the game, in a constant controversy between these two on which one is better. Initial answer for this video is really simple. They're both awesome, and you need them both. But they're not the same tank. They are different. If you only had to get one, I'll probably answer that at the end. We have three replays, two by Gent, one by Aya from Cruel, which is one of the best games I've ever seen in the 50B, and let you source out which one you think is better. There's a play style issue here, but let's take a quick comparison between the 50B and the 57. So First blush, very, very similar DPM, pen, alpha. One key difference is that the 57 shoots heat, which will have better pen. I don't like heat, I'm not a heat guy, especially for heavies, but the pen is better there because you are going to calibrate, you're not gonna run vents, and when you do that. Slightly higher HE DPM on the 57 as well, but that is probably unlikely to matter much. One thing that you also see here is a slight difference in the shell burst, 2.5 seconds for the 57 versus 3 seconds for the 50B. That is a big advantage, and I will quote Gent a few times. That is one of Gent's thoughts on why this thing is better. The rest is very similar, slightly better aim time as well for the 57. Dispersion is worse, so overall gun handling would call it the same. The 50B does have -10 versus -8. And the 50B is quite a bit faster. Look at the top speed of 50. The 50B moves like you would not believe. If you haven't driven this tank, you're gonna love it. It moves like a medium. And then, you know, the armor here is not a good enough comparison to look on paper. That win rate, however, for the 50B remains usually, as always is, a little bit higher than that. So with that, let's jump into the armor. The T57 first. So what you're looking at in the T57 is a lot of good armor in the front. And the lower plate is, however, a little bit weak. It's got a nice band in the middle that is good. And the top of the turret has some good armor with the sides and rear, like both of these tanks having very, very little. But you're gonna get shot with whereas this looks like worse armor in the 50B, but it's actually better. The 50B has got an amazing lower plate. And all around the lower plate, if you don't believe me, jump in there yourself and look, you have values over 350, which is the magic mark because you're not gonna get pinned. The upper turret in overall, there are tons of places where you can get shot in the sides of the turret. The sides of the tank are bad. However, we're going to start seeing some replays here. We're going to jump in Gent in Normandy. And by the way, Gent's got some wickedly awesome camo here. The 50B has got spots when you're looking at this tank, when you're shooting it, against it, I should say, you have places where you can almost HE any part of it. The problem with the 50B is when you're looking at one, and there's a bounce from a T95, by the way, which has got massive pen. When a 50B is looking at you, you need to think cover, because the 50B, as you see Gent just poking holes in the tippy top of the T95, the 50B is such an offensive beast of a weapon that you don't really have time to sit around and aim and think. Now, the only time you do have that is in the interclip reload, but a good player like Gent and when you will see that replay later, and I'm telling you, you guys do not want to miss that replay. It's been covered by Littlefinger as well, so you may have seen it there. I'm covering it again because it's such a good replay. It's worth a couple of looks here. But quickly, you see Gent disposing of that. And what Gent said here, I asked him what to him is the key to playing both of these tanks, and you see Gent doing it. He knows where that third shell is going to go and where he's going to go after the third shell. Now, I think Gent here was really aggressive in running to the beach in Normandy. Waited till he had his reload, did get hit there by the IS-4. Now, I thought he would actually be able to clip this IS-4 out, and I think Gent did too, especially there, but he got a low roll there on his AP and left the IS-4 with just a little bit of damage, but he did permit track him and left it for his teammate to kill, and luckily he got some help from the Vickers Light who cleared the IS-4. So he quickly is already up to 3,000 damage, and that's the thing about the T57, or excuse me, the 50B. I think the 50B is the best offensive tank in the game. It can do more damage on a continual basis than anything. It's just a beastly offensive weapon. It has very little defense because its armor, its side and rear armor in particular, are really, really rough. So if you're going forward with this tank and you know the positions that you're going to go and you're ready after you get the 3 shells in to either clip someone out or go to your next position, and watch this shot on the E4. Beautifully done, Gent. You're going to just do ridiculous damage with this tank. Gent just did 100 games with both tanks. His edge was on the 50B, slight edge on damage, and he did ridiculous average XP on both of them. Look Gent up if you want to see that. But again, it takes a certain play style to understand how to work both of these tanks. There's a lot of similarities between them, but the offensiveness of the 50B is just out of this world. And by the way, Gent here is shooting AP because he's facing a lot of heavies. You know, you can, when you're facing a medium or obviously a TD like a grill or a waffle, the amount of damage you can unload in 6 seconds or 5 seconds with the T57 is just unbelievable. So Gent empties another clip on that E4, but then he gets out of dodge. He knows he's got to relocate. He wants that M103 to juicy targets. The rest of his team, well, one of his teammates is over there on the other side, and Gent is going up in this 103, 872 damage, and then he gets a hit there. So this is an easy clear for Gent. Pretty much put it anywhere in the side and it's good. All that's left is a T62A and that pesky T95 who's still probably driving full speed and has just made it to the other side of the map. This is when Gent, watch him keep up with this T62 without any problem. Not even, you know, really struggling to keep up with that. Cruising along. That is just unbelievable how fast the mobility of this tank. And there comes a 62A who's not looking at Gent. Big mistake. Look at the -10. He can use that hill, pounces him through the side of the turret without any great difficulty using APCR. He clears him. Beautiful shot. So, I mean, Gent, this was just a straight ass, you know, butt whipping that Gent put on. Just going straight up, 6,700 damage. Didn't even feel like it. 5088 base XP. Gent's obviously a terrific player. He knows the positioning, but you can see what you can do. Now, this is Gent again in New Bay here in the T57 Heavy. Now, so again, these tanks are very similar, and you're continuing to ask yourself, should I get one or the other? My simple question to you is, why put it in that way? These are tech tree tanks. Go get them both. I have them both. You should have them both. Work to both of them. If you only want one of them, I think the question for you is a little bit of a play style. Now, you notice the 57, it's a little bit lower of a tank. The front armor is overall better if you include the turret, every part of it, but the lower plate is not. It's, in my opinion, quite a bit worse, but it's got terrific heat pen, and you saw that there on a very difficult tank to pen, the VK72, and then Gent just punches through the front of an STI's turret. That is not an easy thing. You got to aim for that. And then you got this 2.5 second interclip reload. So the T57 is maybe the best at kind of a poke and shoot. And it's not really a relocator. It doesn't have nearly the speed of the 50B. So it's more of a positional tank. Probably more like a good medium tank where Gent just gets into a position. He uses the -8. He's going to probably, he gets a side turret shot there with the with regular AP, which is brilliant because he's doing a lot of damage. Switch to heat. I mean, Gent's ability to switch between shell speed is just ridiculous, by the way. Terrific work, Gent. And then you see Gent's got a couple of morons here trying to help him. The E100 here is mentally retarded, but, you know, that's okay. We appreciate all kinds of players in World of Tank Blitz. And he's kind of pushing up, and the E100 is a perfect meat shield for you. So Gent uses him, covers his lower plate or his side, and he's just hanging out, taking shots on the STI with that terrifically done, clears him. And there's another E100 there. Gent tries to get a corner shot there. I don't think that landed. And it's right now, you know, it's a 6 versus 5 game. This E100 is obviously full health. Gent's already up to 3,000 damage. He's clipped out a couple of tanks, but it's now, and now it switches very quickly to a 4 versus 5. And the problem is with E100s is they just have a lot of hit points. But that is what these tanks are beautifully for. You just notice how Gent aims to that lower plate. And he just, right at the end there, because he has to, he switches to heat. Now, it is now 3 on 5. Things are getting a little perilous here. In 3 on 5, there's a full health M48 Patton. Gent just got poked from the rear. This E100 is not doing anyone anything. He did get a nice shot in there, I think into one of their tanks. I can't tell which one it is. And there comes a Waffle. Waffle shoots HE at the front of the T57, and all it does is the splash damage of 300, and that doesn't do much. This Sheridan just keeps driving around from Doomed. Keeps driving around, and look at what Gent did here. Gent rammed him on the side and then pushed him against the E100. Now, you may have thought that was an accident. That was no accident. It was obviously very intentional. That altogether, that ramming took this guy down by about 200 hit points. What that allowed Gent to do is get 1 shot, 2 shots here, which was a max roll, follow him down there, and even though the T57 is not as fast as the 50B, it's still a fast tank. pops him there to finish him off. There is the game. Massive carry here by Gent, already at 6,400 damage. Now this kind of, as I mentioned, this slightly less smart gentleman here in the E100 is going to go in here and get get some damage on this waffle, and somehow survives as the waffle again hits him. I don't know where the waffle shot him to get that low a splash, but Gent did another 6,600 plus damage here. 6673 damage, 4 kills, 1538 base. So 2 terrific examples of this tank in regular games. And I think Gent's final saying, I'll talk about it more, is that kind of along those lines, if he prefers the 50B. Now we have winner Malanovka, and we have Aya from Cruel Gang. And as I mentioned, this video has already been played. I got it from Blitz Stars, but I did let Aya know I'm using it. And he right here is pushing to a very aggressive spot over the C cap. I like to do this as well with the 50B. The problem with the 50B in doing that is exactly what happens to him here, but he survives it well. And he's just doing some blind shooting there. Why not? Jump into base. The whole team's at A, right? Whoops, there's a Jaegeru. Now, the Jaegeru misses a shot that could have easily, depending on what he shot there, I'm assuming HE, that could have been a big problem. That could have been a 1,300 hit point problem. That was not. But Aya uses the mobility of the 50B, double tracks the Jaegeru, and then gets behind him. Beautifully done. He's got E100 that theoretically should be helping him. And he does. He hits him there. Everybody comes to help now that you're behind the Jaegeru, and they clear that Jaeger. However, very quickly you notice here it is a 5-on-6. So it's not, things are not looking too well. And that's what normally happens when this type of split takes place. So we got a Vickers over here near B. We got 2 meds near B. Aya's team is kind of at B and C cap. They did cap B, which I thought would matter here. It doesn't. And then the STI does clear that Vickers, which was nice. Now there comes a charging K91, and notice the bounce there. Again, notice the bounces in general. Aya does a terrific job of using the lower plate of this tank. Now that wasn't the lower plate. I'm not really sure what the K91 was shooting at. But Aya just kind of pushes up against rocks, and nobody knows what your inner clip reload normally is, and unless they can count your shells, they don't know what you're on. But that Progetto is back there, and there he bounces. The front plate, when angled just out like that of the 50B, I didn't really show that, didn't have time. If you just angle out the front of the 50B, it's impenetrable. And really impenetrable. It's got amazing, the lower plate and middle plate of the 50B. The lower plate actually can be penned, but the middle plate can't, especially at an angle. So Aya uses that here to get bounces, and now it is a 3-on-4. He still has 2 players here on his team that are just not really doing much of anything. And there comes the charging STI from the other team. Now he does get a shot here. I mean, this game goes completely crazy, guys, just completely wild. But nonetheless, Aya pushes up here, does unfortunately get hit by that damn Progetto, and that Progetto just keeps on, he's just camped over. He's not really doing anything other than just sniping people when they're out. But it ends up costing in the end, and it gets very, very close because of that. Once again, he eliminates the clip. Notice the interclip reload here of these 2 tanks is, it's around 15, 16 seconds. Can't remember the number off the top of my head. We'll know in a second. But the reality is that it is enough that you do need to find cover. You can't just run amok like maybe with a T59 or something. Nonetheless, there comes the FV 4202, and there is the RNGesus shot of the game. Now the reason for that is he damaged his ammo rack in general, and then shot him again. Beautifully done there. Massive. So all of a sudden it's a 2-on-3. It was a 2-on-4, and this game is possible. But our amigo here only has 1,200 hit points, and I think Aya here couldn't conserve him well. He knew he had to get in position, and he worked on clearing this STI. He had, unfortunately, a low roll there, which really should have cost him the game. Of course, you'll see that it didn't due to some terrific RNGesus. There comes the Progetto, and that Progetto is, really, I'm sorry, it's the 140. I said Progetto. This 140 just can't land a shot. He bounced 2 or 3 against him, and finally gave him a chance. That second bounce was just insane. You're just waiting to die there. Now the Alpha's 310. Maybe he could have survived it. This STI is out of position, not even looking. Clears him without, and the Progetto's back there, just kind of still sitting there doing not a whole lot. You see they were good on points here. Aya reloads 1 shell and adios. Didn't even use APCR on that. So What a game, what a comeback. Definitely some RNGesus, but I think it's more actually of this terrific game. 8,400 damage, one of the top games in North America. Thank you, Blitz Stars. Terrific game, yeah, thanks for letting us use your content. And guys, get both of these tanks. They are absolutely terrific. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel.